channel, and we're gonna just talk on the lightweight division in terms of the boxers that are in that division, the climate in that division. Um, may even speak about the top 10 boxers in the division as I see them. Um, and also, I may talk a little bit about Leonard Ellerbe's comments on the Porterweight podcast concerning the lightweight division. A couple of things Leonard Ellerbe said, and hmm, I think a lot of us are not going to be too cool with that. When he's talking about Devin Haney, moving down the pathway of ESPN and Top Rank, and developing his his career along those pathways, and Tank, being a draw, and that what people are salivating about Devin Haney versus Tank, that fight, um, being that Haney doesn't really, he can't speak on Haney, he can speak on Tank. Talking about how much he's a draw for the casual boxing fans and so on. You know, uh, to a certain degree, I do get Leonard, but to a certain degree, again, you're not getting supposedly the best guys facing the best guys, and I think that's where fans of boxing, you know, like myself, purists, we got a problem with that because we can't have boxing straying away from the best facing the best. To be the best, you got to beat the best. And Leonard can talk how much he wants about how he thinks the fight would go with Tank and Haney until you put them up, you line them up in the ring, and you match them up. It's just talk, you know. And I know Tank is a very skilled fighter. You don't have to tell me that. I've seen Tank in the amateurs. I know Tank. When Tank wasn't necessarily knocking out everybody, he was out boxing fools, man. I've seen Tank do what he do. So you don't have to tell me about Tank. You don't have to convince me about Tank. And you don't have to convince me about Devin Haney either. I mean, you look at the man training, who he's under, and you look at his boxing skills, and everything is there. Okay? So I'm not saying that Tank versus Haney is going to go one way or another. I'm never going to say that. I can tell you this. Spence versus Crawford is one of the most highly anticipated fights, and when that fight does get signed and it's ready to be delivered, I'm going to tell you this. This is going to be one of the biggest fights in boxing because not only hardcores, the enthusiasm hardcores have for it is going to trickle over into mainstream, and the promotion for that thing is going to be crazy. Haney versus Cambosis was big in Australia, a huge fight in Australia, right? It was a very, very big fight in Australia. 44,000 people turned up to see that event. And their pay-per-view, I would love to know the pay-per-view numbers in Australia so that we could find out how big that event was. Devin Haney is going to be a big star in boxing, okay? There's no way now that you can avoid him. You have to go through Devin Haney. You're going to have to go through Devin Haney if you want to be the best in the division. So, just like how Lopez was the best in the division when he was the top dog, and Cambosis was the best in the division when he was the top dog, Devin Haney is the best in the division right now. He's the top dog. And more so than Teofimo Lopez and Cambosis and Lomachenko. Okay? The top dog. Don't tell me he's the guy with the hardware. No, that's wrong. You're going to have to go through Devin Haney if you want to call yourself the best. You could be the cash cow. Ain't nothing wrong with being the cash cow, but you ain't the best until you come see Devin Haney. That's how it goes. That's the rules of boxing, whether you like it or not. Whether you feel Devin Haney can make money or not. You can't call yourself best lightweight in the division until you cap those belts. Until you come see Devin Haney. He is the lineal and he is the undisputed champion. There is no other champion in that division. Tank is not a champion. This is real talk now. It's not Paulie Malignaggi talk. It's real talk. Tank has a secondary title because there's something in the WBA called a super champion. Unfortunately for Tank, he ain't got the real title. Okay? Raleigh Romero fought him for a paper championship. He's not the real champion. I don't count them kind of things. I know when the real champion is and who is the secondary champion. Devin Haney, when he had the WBC title, was the real champion. And that bullshit belt called a franchise belt that Lomachenko had, that's a vacated champion's belt. Now, the lineal champion was Vasily Lomachenko. Okay, he fought Luke Campbell, who was, I believe he was number 3 in the division at the time. He was number 1. Number 1 faced number 3. Ring Magazine rules say number 1 versus number 3. The lineal champion comes out of that. Ring Magazine lineal title was given to Lomachenko. So he was the lineal champion. That never changed. Okay, Lomachenko was the man of the division. He was the lineal champion. That I do not disagree with. But you can't be giving Lomachenko all this shine over Tank. You can't be giving shine over Tank. You can't be giving Cambosis shine over Tank, but all of a sudden a different energy when Devin Haney step up to the scene, cop all the belts, okay, is the lineal champion. All of a sudden Devin Haney's not the number 1 guy Tank is. Fuck out of here. Okay? Devin Haney is the number 1 lightweight, as you can see in my post right there, of the division. And then on Ellerbe, if you want to claim Tank, you may not be interested in this. You may be just interested in the numbers and being the cash cow, which is all well and good, but you ain't going to get the cred. That's just the way how it go. You can't be the best if you don't beat the best. Don't tell me no fucking shit about Pitbull Cruz. Pitbull Cruz is not the best lightweight in the lightweight division, Leonard Ellerbe. Yes, he's a top 10 fighter, and he was a top 10 fighter, and I salute Tank on taking on Pitbull Cruz, a top 10 fighter in the division. And Pitbull is what he is. He's a Pitbull. And Tank beat him with 1 arm for a couple of rounds. And shout out to Tank. I know Tank has a lot of skills. But Tank is not the best lightweight in the lightweight division. Don't fool yourself. And don't do like Tank gonna deal with Devin like how he dealt with Rolly. That shit ain't happening. Okay? You only bamboozling one set of people, Leonard Ellerbe. And I like you. I love you as a trainer and everything, but you fooling people. Devin, you know Devin is not that kind of fighter. I don't give a fuck if you say it's 8-ounce gloves. You know very, very well. You know very, very well Devin's cut from a different cloth. So don't bullshit us. And don't tell me about Shakur Stevenson either. That, Tank gonna knock out Shakur. He's not going to just these guys, you know this, man. You've been with Floyd Mayweather for the longest while, and they talk about this puncher and that puncher and all their skills and all that shit. It ain't easy to knock out top guys, the very best, the top guys. It's not easy. And those guys, you know they are a nightmare for any fighter. I don't care how much your skill set is. It's a tough-ass fight. Shakur and Devin are the 2 most difficult boxers in the sport of boxing. And you add to that list Demetrius Andrade, who they trying to box out. They really trying to box out Andrade. Because Andrade don't got no promoter behind him. At least Devin has Top Rank behind him right now. Shakur has Top Rank behind him. But Demetrius Andrade, he got Eddie Hearn behind him, but not really. And we don't even know if he's re-signing with DAZN. So don't bullshit us, Leonard Ellerbe. Okay? And don't tell me about cross the street, because Devin just crossed the street. He crossed the street 3 times. He went from Showtime and PBC to DAZN. He went from DAZN to Top Rank to get what he wanted. Okay? Danny Jacobs crossed from PBC to HBO. He went from HBO to DAZN He back at PBC. So don't bullshit us, man. Don't bullshit us. Okay? Terrence Crawford left Top Rank. He at PBC. They're making a deal with Errol Spence. When you want to make the biggest fights in boxing, and that's a fucking big fight. Devin Haney versus Tank is a big fight, and the fans are calling for it already. It's a big fight. Now, I'm not saying that Devin Haney will face Tank next, but if Bob Arum is making calls across to Al Heyman and to Mayweather Promotions to make that fight happen, which could be a fight that could happen within that 3-fight deal that Devin has with Top Rank Promotions, because you got to understand, he may not rematch Cambosis. They may work out a situation to pay Cambosis, step aside stuff so that Cambosis don't pursue the fight and he make more money without having to fight. And Cambosis will be satisfied with that, and he just chill in the corner. And instead, Devin Haney goes on to take on Lomachenko next. And then after that, it may be Tank. Then after that, it may be Shakur. Now I know Floyd Mayweather said that, Devin and Tank, they ain't gonna meet up right now. Floyd's adamant on that. I'm gonna say this. I'm not mad at Tank. I know Tank's career, and I know that Tank has done some tremendous things, especially at 130. Okay, he faced an undefeated Jose Pedraza. He knocked him out. Okay, and he boxed him. Okay, and they want to say, Pedraza outboxed Tank by a couple. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. I saw Tank box that motherfucker, and furthermore, Rolly Romero only won 2 rounds in that fight against Tank. Only 2 rounds I could give Rolly Romero. Tank won the next 4 rounds, and Tank found Rolly Romero's rhythm by round 4. He found his rhythm. So all that bullshit they talking about how Rolly Romero, got 6 rounds or 3 rounds to 2. I didn't see that shit. Okay, Tank used his feet. Brilliant footwork. Okay, I know what Tank is. He more like Pretty Boy Floyd than all of those other guys. Devin and Shakur is not like Pretty Boy Floyd. They're more like Money Mayweather. Tank is more like Pretty Boy Floyd than all of them. I'm not saying he is. Tank is Tank, but I'm just saying. Remarkable, skilled, very cerebral, very smart, very good fighter. Floyd showing Tank, Tank is now really starting to box, and his boxing is beautiful, and I love what he's doing, and he's getting the knockouts because he got that beautiful timing, that beautiful speed. He throw himself into the shots as well. So and that explosiveness that allows him to get the knockouts that he wants. Devin's still working on trying to get those KOs. I think by when he gets to 140, just like Terrence Crawford, by the time he gets to 140 and his body really fill out properly and everything, and he gets his coordination down packed really, really well because he's still growing. I think he will do very, very well. Hold on a second. We always get this disturbance because I'm sitting in my living room, and I'm shooting these videos, and sometimes people in the roadside, which is not too far, they just blast music. They don't care. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So I think that Tank Davis is a phenomenal fighter. I know this, and I know he's a boxer first, a puncher second. They like to finish the fight in explosive fashion, but and this is what everybody likes, the knockouts, right? So I get it. I get what Ryan Garcia trying to do too. He's trying to make a big splash. He's always trying to impress. So I get what Ryan and Tank's about. I get what Devin and Shakur is about. Okay? But all I'm saying is, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Them fights, as fight fans, we want to see them. I know some of those fights are going to happen down the road, but I still want to see those fights. And if it can be made at lightweight, make the shit happen. Make the shit happen. Because one way or the other, you're going to have to face them guys. Tank has got it. They're young guys, too. One way or the other, they're going to have to face each other. You know what I mean? They're going to have to face each other. Tio is going to face Devin. Tank has had to face Tio. They're going to have to face each other unless they fall off the pedestal at the top echelon. then they won't have to face each other. But if they stay as the top guys there, they're going to have to face each other. And so, when Leonard talks the way he talks, it's sometimes really discouraging because as a fan, I'm going to just say it, it's very discouraging as a fan, very respectfully speaking. I don't like to hear that, oh, Tank, he never might face Devin because Devin don't make the money that Tank do, and he don't draw the crowds that Tank draw. When you don't know that for a fact, okay? Because if Devin is boring, what the fuck is Shakur? What the fuck is Shakur? Right? And now that they're both at top rank, I expect top rank to. But you see, if you ask me, who are the biggest threats at that weight class, in that weight class range from 130 to 140, it's those two guys. You know this. Y'all know boxing. Them two guys is the biggest threats in there. Tank poses a visible physical threat, right? Now, don't get it twisted. Tank can box his ass off as well. They all can box their ass off. Tank carry power, right? But if Tank need to box, he boxes his ass off, okay? And y'all know very well Tank will have a reach and a height disadvantage against Shakur and Devin. And Devin and Shakur are big, and they know how to use their size and their reach, okay? We know this. So if the most challenging fights in that division is going to be Tank versus Devin and Tank versus Shakur. We know this. Leonard Ellerbe knows this. This is not rocket science. These guys sparred each other. They know each other. Shakur sparred Tank many, many times. They know each other. This is not guys that don't know each other, okay? They've been in the ring with each other. Tank actually went into his feelings when Floyd was training Devin, and Tank was like, and Floyd was like, all right, man, Tank, you and Devin ain't necessarily going to meet up. Devin going to go up to a higher weight class. You're going to chill out down at lightweight. You're going to dominate lightweight. Devin going to dominate. And we're going to keep you guys separated until the time when you guys need to meet up. I heard what Floyd said. So I understand where Floyd's coming from. I understand where you're coming from, Leonard. I know why you're trying to play it down. But at the same time, sometimes, Leonard, you got to engage the audience. You got to let them know, hey, man, that's a really good matchup. Sometimes you need to just say it. And say, but it ain't time yet. When the right time comes, the matchup will happen. At least leave the door open. Don't crush us like fans, like, oh, he not drawing no drawing power, blah, blah, blah. I understand all that. I understand the mechanics. I know Tank is hot. I know y'all going to ride the train and make the most amount of money. We know what Mayweather Promotions is about with their fighters. I get it. But my point is, don't leave people hanging like, hey, this fight is a fight that will never happen. I mean, come on, man. Come on, don't do that. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that's what Leonard Ellerbe is saying, but it really, look. As fans of the sport, hardcore fans, you got to please both of them, You can't just be pleasing casuals, right? You can't just be pleasing casuals. You also got the hardcore fans. And you know what it is? I, as a hardcore purist, I'm willing to ride with anything Leonard Ellerbe say because I'm there to defend, understanding that boxing needs to expand. But at the same time, boxing has certain basic rules. You can't fucking say that Tank's the best in the division and he hasn't faced the best. This is all I'm saying, Leonard. Now, when it comes to 130, I can say Tank's the best because he beat the best down there. Even though he never faced Burchell, you know what I'm saying? Hold on a second. Let me just move over and get, I'm cooking some food here, and I got some other things I got to do. Let me break it down because I need to break it down. I understand there's money involved in boxing and all this shit, but you got to understand. Devin Haney has put himself in a position, Leonard Ellerbe, where you have to go through him at lightweight to call Tank the best. When we look at the eye test, Tank can do all kinds of shit. Okay, we're not saying no. All right, and on top of that, he got star power And on top of that, he's getting them KOs, they're drawing them casuals in, and getting people interested in boxing. So I get 1,000% where Leonard's coming from. Okay, but people even have him on their pound per pound list. He's not on my pound per pound list because there's just too many other guys better than him and accomplish more, in my opinion, that are on there. Okay, but but that doesn't mean he's not in my top pound for pound list. Okay, and that don't mean nothing. It's just my pound for pound list, and it doesn't mean anything. Okay, Tank's a fucking phenomenal fighter. He's proven he could go through weight classes and do that. The problem with it is he faced the best at only one weight class, 130. I'm not even going to front like he didn't face the best at 130. He faced the best at 130. Even though he didn't face the very best at 130, he never became lineal champion in any one of those divisions. But Jose Pedraza, come on now. Jose Pedraza was a fucking phenomenal fighter. He stepped up to the plate and won the IBF title. He never beat Miguel Berchelt. I think at the time when Pedraza was on the scene, Berchelt was not on the scene, right? I think the guy who was on the scene was Vargas, right? Francisco Vargas, I think was the dude. Right? But still, having said that, he beat Jose Pedraza, a established, skilled Puerto Rican boxer. Could switch from either stance. Could fight on the inside or on the outside. Pedraza just got a lot of skills, and he beat Jose Pedraza. Jose Pedraza is still in boxing today. He's at the super lightweight division doing his thing. Okay? Two-time world champion, etc., 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 right? So that was a tremendous win, and put Tank up there in the top, in the top 5 super featherweights. Then he went on to beat what is going to be future Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, 4 divisional world champion, Cruz, not Isaac Cruz, Santa Cruz, Leo Santa Cruz. Okay, so I'm not questioning Tank's pedigree. I'm not questioning how good Tank is. Okay, and he stopped those 2 guys. So in terms of pound for pound, I don't have no problem with nobody having him on their pound for pound list. But he's not the best lightweight in the lightweight division. Don't fucking front like that. Don't say that, Leonard. You can't say he's the best lightweight in the lightweight division. Nobody can say that. And don't nobody change the narrative now after Tia was the best and Cambosis was the best, but now Devin Haney's not the best. Come on now. So let's talk about the lightweight division and rankings. And if you guys want to chime in and talk with me on this one, let's go there. Because the lightweight division is hot. We're not going to front. Number 1 in the lightweight division right now is Devin the Dream Haney. Is this a surprise? He took it all. He took everything, right? He beat Cambosis, who was the lineal champion. He's the lineal champion, according to Ring Magazine. And he's also the WBC, WBA, WBO, and IBF world champion. Cool. Now, the IBF enforces their mandatories. So at some point, he's going to have to face a mandatory. But right now, as he's won the championship, I don't think there's any enforced mandatory for him. So we're going to have to check out who the mandatories are. Right? Okay. If you go and look into different boxing organizations, you're going to see that the mandatory for Devin Haney actually, in most of them, is Vasily Lomachenko. He is the mandatory. WBA, I believe it is. And I believe it is the WBA or the WBC. But is actually, my bad. Lomachenko is a mandatory, I believe, for Gervonta Tank Davis in the WBA, because Gervonta Tank is the one that had to do the defenses. But Tank is the regular champion, so he's kind of like, he's not a mandatory for Devin Haney, but he is somebody that Devin Haney should fight so that they could equalize and balance out the WBA. I'm just talking the politics of the boxing. I'm not talking about, so a case for Tank versus Devin Haney just based on sanctioning bodies, and if the WBA just suddenly says, you know what, We're trying to get rid of all these belts. We sanction Tank Davis versus Devin Haney. That could happen in the WBA. But in almost every other sanctioning body, it's Vasily Lomachenko, who's the mandatory to face Gervonta Tank Davis. Sorry, not Gervonta Tank Davis. What the fuck am I talking about? Is the mandatory to face Devin Haney. So actually, after Devin Haney, just based on the fact that the guy who's coming next, that Devin Haney has to face next, is Vasily Lomachenko. Lomachenko is the second best lightweight in the lightweight division. The way how it's arranged, because he's the guy that is going to get second dibs. He's the first contender. He's the first lineal contender to Devin Haney's lineal and undisputed championship. He's the guy that gets first dibs at Devin Haney, which is crazy. Eh? It's not just top rank doing that, but the guy's actually, Lomachenko's literally lined up that way. So Devin Haney should face Lomachenko next. Guess who's behind Lomachenko in the rankings, generally speaking? Whether it's the Ring Magazine or Transnational Boxing Board or the actual sanctioning bodies themselves. The guy next in line more than often is Gervonta Tank Davis. You see what I'm saying? Now, so I'm letting y'all know that literally the way how this thing is set up, if Tank want to smoke, I don't know if I guess he's going to stay with Mayweather Promotions. Maybe he won't. But if he want to smoke, and if Devin Haney get past Lomachenko, he can get the smoke. And Devin is never going to say no to Tank. Devin ain't saying no to nobody. If you want the smoke, if you want to show that you the best, come beat me. Come beat me. That's Devin Haney's attitude. He not going to avoid no smoke. You can guarantee that. You know, Devin Haney want to show he the best. So all the top contenders step up to the plate. He ready to chop y'all down and prove that he the best. So y'all will see that Devin Haney not no fluke. Now, I heard a critique on the Porter Way podcast that I agree with. But I understood the circumstances under which Devin Haney was fighting and Shakur was fighting. Shakur and Devin Haney, they watch a little too much of Floyd Mayweather, particularly Money Mayweather. And they need to watch a little bit more of Pretty Boy Floyd. The reason being, I understand what they're doing, and they're doing it even better than Floyd has been doing it because they make it simpler, they make it easier, and they're even more efficient at it than Floyd is. But here's the thing. You got to also have a little pretty boy in you, especially in the championship rounds. Get this smoke. What's up, brother? Let me hear your views, man. Let me hear your views on the lightweight division, how it's shaping up. Who's the top dog in the lightweight division right now? I want to hear what your thoughts are. You are hardcore, so let me hear what your thoughts are on. I'm gonna eat while I'm talking to you guys though, because I gotta eat something. But what's your opinion on the top dogs in the lightweight division right now? And let me hear what you got to say. Get the Smoke says Haney isn't copying Floyd. He was trained by the guy that trained Floyd. Oh, you know what I mean, though. You know what I mean. I mean, Haney and Shakur Stevenson, they're not trained by Floyd. They never were, but they watched Floyd. And they're basically taking a page out of him. If you watch at Haney's final round when he was facing Cambosis, he said he took that round off. And even though he's counterpunching Cambosis, he was actually moving around the length of the ring. And when Shakur was beating Oscar Valdez, he also took the 12th round off. And he ran around the ring with his hands up in the air. And that's where they say they're taking a page out of Money Mayweather. And that's something Money Mayweather used to do. Okay? Because they dominated so much. And so that's what I mean. I'm not literally talking about copying Floyd's style or anything like that. You know what I mean? And with respect to they need to look at Pretty Boy Floyd as well, because one of the things that, and I heard it on the Porterway podcast, and I agree, one of the things that Stephen Fulton does is he finishes the show. Even if he's ahead on the cards, still keeping his defense, still being sharp, but taking the heat to his opponent. And instead of letting your foot off the gas in the 12th round, you want to close the show. I heard Sugar Ray Leonard say the same thing. You need to close the show. And one of the things that has a lasting impact on the fans, which is why even I hear a lot of the fans saying this guy's running and that guy's running. And by the way, Get This Smoke, I'm going to make sure I go through all your comments here. So I'm getting back to you. I'm just answering it comprehensively. If you look at Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor, they finish the show. You know what I mean? They throw hands. Even if it's the last 20, 30 seconds, you throw some hands. You know what I mean? Yeah, if you're not getting the guy out of there, you throw some hands anyway. You know what I mean? You do it sensibly. Even Floyd versus Oscar De La Hoya, when Floyd was, not the Floyd Mayweather, not the pretty boy Floyd anymore. He moved up in weight. They throw hands in the last 30 seconds. So you want to close, what do they say? Close the show. You know what I mean? You don't want to do nothing crazy. You don't want to do nothing that will hurt yourself, but you still want to close the show. You want to fight all the way through the 12 rounds, and you want to really take it up a notch in the final seconds of the round, keeping your defense still tight, but still, doing what you got to do, because we don't want to be like Mickey Bay, distracted and not focused and trying to give the fans what they want, and then you get knocked the hell out. Then you don't want that either, right? Shout out to Get the Smoke, by the way. So Get the Smoke, he says, Haney KO's Loma. Yeah, man, Haney got power, man. People forget that Haney got some pop. He does have some pop, and he's actually dropped opponents. I think before the Jorge Linares fight, and he was beating up Jorge Linares really badly, by the way, but he was working the body mostly. Before the Jorge Linares fight, he dropped his last opponent. Remember that? He dropped the dude before the Jorge Linares fight, and he had actually knocked out a dude with one punch, an overhand right. He knocked out a guy. So Haney has the power. He has the power, but it's just that, and so does Shakur, by the way. They both have power, but it's just that they're not necessarily one-punch knockout artists. They got to break down their opponent. Haney KO's Lover. I mean, Tank. Yeah, well, Tank's a boxer puncher, man. Tank got that explosiveness. He got that concussive power. Tank is that dude. That's what Tank do. But Tank K. I think Tank K is. I'm with you there. Get This Smoke. I think Tank K is Loma. I do. But Loma is a totally different level of fighter that Tank has not faced of recent times. Tank has faced Mario Barrios. He's faced. He faced Pitbull Cruz, which is a very good fighter, by the way. Pitbull Cruz is a very good fighter, actually. He didn't knock out Pitbull Cruz. I mean, he did wreck his hand in the fight, but still, he didn't knock out Pitbull Cruz. He fought Rolly Romero, who's, he's not even a top 10 lightweight, really. He's a fringe lightweight right now. And Rolly Romero, I still think Tank knew he could outbox him, even though he had the shorter reach, because Rolly was a dude that was outboxed by Marinez, if I'm not mistaken. Get the Smoke says Haney was trained by Floyd Sr., the same guy that trained Floyd. Well, absolutely. Not just Floyd Sr. He was trained by Roger Mayweather, Floyd Sr., Jeff Mayweather. He was trained by many trainers. Many trainers. Many people. Mike McCallum, Yoel Judah. He was trained by I forgot his name right now. The guy with the kind of raspy voice who trains MMA fighters, wasn't MMA, and he also trains boxers. I forgot what his name is. He was on the Boxing Voice and all of that when watching the fight with Tank versus, not Tank, Devin versus, I think. So he been trained by many trainers. Dewey Cooper, that's the name. There you go. Dewey Cooper. Yep. Oh, my comment section is just suddenly not working. Okay, there you go. Tank is not in 35. I really don't rate him there yet. No, he not. He not a. He not a. He is a top 10 35 pounder. I think. Actually, I just said it. I just said it. He's ranked. Tank is ranked usually number two contender behind Lomachenko for Devin Haney's undisputed status or his lineal championship, as well as his WBA titles or WBC, WBO, or IBF titles. So whether you're doing sanctioning bodies or you're doing ring or transcontinental box rec, Tank is number one on box rec because of the way how their algorithm works. But I don't agree with it. But Shakur is not at 35. Yeah, I know that Shakur is not at 35, but still, I put Shakur in the discussion because Shakur is such a, he's a big, first of all, Shakur is now a big 130, so he's going to be moving up very soon. And you never know. Shakur might, go after those straps. You never know. Shakur is another top ranked fighter who is a possible opponent for Devin Haney, believe it or not. And maybe while Devin Haney's fighting Lomachenko, Shakur might just jump up to 135 and get a tune-up fight before he faces Devin Haney. So that's a very, 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 very real possibility, depending on how top rank and ESPN wants because they actually talked about at the end of Shakur's fight with Oscar Valdez, they talked about Shakur probably facing the winner of Devin Haney and Cambosis. And Shakur basically said whoever, whenever, I'm ready for whoever. You know what I mean? So Shakur is a possible guy that can be thrown into the pot. And as we all know, I think that Devin Haney does a lot more things than Shakur does, but Shakur is immaculate. He's a perfectionist is what he's doing, and he's perfecting now his inside game. So he got all kinds of things going on with Shakur. Shakur is on a high, high level, of course, Olympian silver medalist, perfectionist at what he does. He perfects his craft. So, Shakur's on a tremendously different level in many different respects. And what he does superbly well. Whereas Devin Haney's still growing. You can see he's still growing as a human being. Devin Haney actually has a lot more he could have done, as many people would tell you. There's a lot more he could have done against Cambosis, but I know he decided to dial it down and keep it simple. If you do remember in an interview, Yoel Judah said he just stick with the basics, just stick with the fundamentals. So they were just having Devin Haney control Cambosis just with the jab mostly, and then of course neutralize his left hook and take away his right hand. Right, he took away both of them, and Cambosis tends to loop his shots, and Devin Haney tends to show his shots straight. So Devin Haney's shots would land much more readily on Cambosis than Cambosis shots would land on Haney. So Haney was dipping a lot to underneath Cambosis' hook, and people were saying, well, Cambosis should have thrown a looping uppercut. Well, that ain't so easy to do when you can't time the dude, and he can time you. You know what I'm saying? So, and Haney's, movement and everything was giving Cambosis all kinds of trouble. And Devin Haney wasn't moving around the ring, He was right there in the center of the ring with Cambosis most of the fight, So when I hear people say he was running, they must be thinking about the last round, the 12th round, when Devin Haney was using the entire ring. That's why I said it's about closing the show. Shakur and Devin, they're not runners. They stand right in front of you, you can't touch them. You know what I mean? The defensive wizards. But the problem with it is the last impression they may have is of them circling the ring, excessively moving around the ring, and then raising their hands and running around the ring, and then you don't really. That's not the. Floyd got away with that, but that's not the way to end a fight, man. For real, you gotta throw some hands. If you're dominating the fight so well, now you gotta be careful with this, right? You're dominating the fight so well. You don't want to do something now and get messed up in the process, but you want to, like Devin was throwing right hands off of the jab from outside the pocket and looping it and hitting Cambosis in his head and tagging him to the body. You should have just kept it long and run your combinations long. You know what I mean? But you live to learn. You want to make sure you get the W and you get it clean and you get it with no questioning. So that's where he went with. A couple more jabs to the body, too, to break down Cambosis' body. He didn't really break down his body enough. He had some beautiful left hooks to the body. He feinted like he's going up top, and he come down with a left hook off of the jab. He looped the jab, too. He'd hook off the jab. It's beautiful stuff. But he did a lot of nice things in there. He did, and but I'm just saying that Devin Haney, he got, Shakur knows. Shakur, that's why Shakur said he was gonna put down money that Devin Haney would stop him in 8 because Devin firing on all cylinders stops Cambosis. He does. He stops him, but he still don't have that. I don't think he has that. Even though he was really sharp and really nice in that fight, I still don't think he's quite gotten his timing down and throws his punches with the fluidity and the relax. Even though he's very relaxed, he still don't throw with the fluidity. He still try to put too much force into his punches, and that kind of restricts. It's kind of like Canelo. Canelo tighten up too much on his punches, and you got to let it flow. In my opinion. Um, Straight shots is why I picked Spence over Bud. Bud, Bud shoots straight, man. Bud shoots straight. Bud loops punches and he throws hooks and stuff. But I don't know, man. Like I said before, you riding hard with Spence, but I don't know. I really don't know. Like you said, there's some. Like I said, I in one of the videos I had before, I was saying that Spence is a guy who got other gears that nobody's been pushing him to actually produce. He has Spence is unbelievable with his footwork. His footwork is unbelievable. So I really can't predict who will win that fight. I really can't, cause Crawford has demonstrated to us so many different aspects of his game, and his toughness that it's very, very hard for me to know who is going to win that fight. I don't know. I honestly don't know. And Crawford ain't too small. Crawford lifts 400 pounds easy. So, Crawford's very strong and he could take a punch and all. So I don't know who's going to win that fight. I just have to see it. I'm not making no prediction on that fight. That fight is a headache to think about. I think Shakur, Haney, and Tank fights pick him. Yeah, I agree. I actually agree with you on that one. I do. I honestly don't know who would win, and I'm gonna throw Ryan in that mix. Even though Ryan's not as proven as them, I know Ryan from the amateurs, so I know what Ryan could bring to the table. And a lot of people not listening to me, but it is what it is. Don't let Ryan fool you with all the talk that he has. That motherfucker can fight. Um, Ryan in there, it's a beautiful mix-up. I don't really know. I can't definitively tell you who will win what. I know Haney won the last 3 fights that he had with Ryan. Ryan won the first 3 in the amateurs. But, Ryan has that reach, y'all, that y'all not thinking about. And the other thing that a lot of people not thinking about and why Ryan was able to take Luke Campbell's shot was because Ryan's a huge lightweight. The 2 biggest lightweights in the lightweight division as we speak right now, as the lightweight division is Devin Haney and is Ryan Garcia. These guys are huge. Ryan Garcia is taller than I am, and he's a lightweight. He's taller than me. He has a longer reach than I have, and I'm a super welter. You get what I'm saying? Devin Haney he's grown, so whatever they wrote down that his height is, he's taller than that, man. He's towering over Cambosis. He was so much bigger than Cambosis. And he's only 23 years old, the same age Canelo was when he faced Floyd Mayweather. This man is undisputed. And don't tell me he's not in his prime. He's in the beginning of his prime, okay? So, when people say Canelo wasn't in his prime when he faced, that's bullshit, man. Come on. Most fighters, Julio Cesar Chavez at 21 years of age, that's when he became WBC champion. He fought Roger Mayweather when he was 22. So I don't know what the fuck they talking about, man, when they say a guy not in his prime. I don't know what the hell they talking. It's the beginning. It could say it's the beginning of his prime, but he in his prime, man. When you have, in fact, the younger you are, is the quicker you are able to pick up coordination of things, and you're sharper and you're faster and everything. So I don't know what the fuck they talking about, especially if you've been fighting since you was a kid. Come on, man. And professionally, 15 years of age? Come on, man. I don't understand these people when they say Canelo was green and all that. I don't know what the fuck they was talking about. It never made sense to me. And I think most of the boxing heads out there would look at them like, what are you talking about, man? That's an excuse. It's just like running in the ring. I hate hearing people say that. But anyway, I digress. I think Shakur Haney and Tank fights are pick 'em. Yeah, Ryan's feet aren't good enough. His feet's not bad. He don't have bad feet in boxing. He been walking guys down more, so he been more flat footed now. Because he's walking guys down. Ryan in the amateurs wasn't walking guys down. He was mostly boxing off the back foot. He's a back foot boxer. He's more of a very fluent, very quick on light on his feet, move around, you know, shell up on the ropes, ride punches and shit. But Ryan changed his style to a much more aggressive style so that he could get the fans and stuff involved, and he been walking down fighters more. And people say, well, he don't tuck his chin enough, and sometimes he throws a jab with his chin up in the air, or he lean in over the lead foot or whatever. Um, I would say this: he's still working on his style, but because he's so long and rangy, it's hard for guys to get to him by the time, and he's very, very fast. So by the time the guy gets to him, he done already tattooed you up with a shot or hit you with a check hook or something. So his chin, he tried to stand tall. You see, he's fighting tall. He's not fighting short. He's not trying to, you know. So that's why his chin looked like it's up in the air. It's like if you look at Lennox Lewis, his chin, if Adam McClitchko, their chin was up in the air because you straighten up and you fight tall. For when you are a tall fighter, you fight tall. You know, because the only time you need to protect and tuck his chin is when you're up close and personal with him. You know, so that's why you don't even see Joe Goosen trying to correct that with him. It's because at a certain now Luke Campbell was a tall, rangy guy, so he was able to loop that left hook and catch Ryan on the chin and put him down. And Luke got some respectable power. His left hook is respectable. He put guys down with his left hook a lot of times. Hurt Lomachenko with the left hook and stuff. So he got respectable power. But do you see how Ryan reacted to that? He was unfazed. He just got back up. He didn't even have, he didn't even wobble nothing. He just got right back up and started walking Luke Campbell down like he was nothing. He didn't respect his power at all. And the reason behind that is because Ryan's a tremendously big lightweight. This is what I think. If you guys were to see the dimensions of these guys, it will make sense to you why they're so difficult. When you're that fast and you're that long, you pose all kinds of problems for people. That's why people said Thomas Hearns would have been a problem for Floyd because he was so long and so tall, you know, as a welterweight. You know what I mean? Right now we got Sebastian Fundora at 154, and he's seen as a problem as well because of his length and reach. Paul Williams at welterweight and then super welterweight was seen as a problem as well in boxing, because he was long and rangy. It doesn't necessarily mean that a Tank can't maneuver past that because Tank gets undershots. So he can close the distance and get undershots and still land the punches he needs to have. But the point is, that's a problem. You still have to navigate past that. You still have to work past that, and that always takes time to get past that. And so it's those kinds of things that I look at when I'm watching fighters fight. And I'm saying that's still a problem that you have to navigate past. And that's why I don't think, and you saw it with Mario Barrios. Mario Barrios' jab was giving Tank all kinds of problems when he was fighting Tank, and Mario Barrios was able to pick him off on the outside until Tank was able to realize that Barrios was circling only one way. So he was able to anticipate where Barrios would be, and that's how he was able to cut the angle and get the shots in. But, it would be harder with Ryan. And Ryan's much faster than Barrios, just sharper, got more power to worry about and all of that. So, it's just when you think about the variables involved, that's why I said these Ryan's in that mix. In fact, I'm not the only person to say this. I believe Ryan Garcia would beat Vasily Lomachenko because of the jab. Because of the jab. I think Ryan Garcia would beat Vasily Lomachenko because of the jab that he has. So that's just my opinion on it, of course, from looking at Ryan and how he fights and everything. Ryan stands straight up, knees locked. What do you try to be tall? You're trying to be tall. Sometimes he locks his knees, yeah. Sometimes he does all kinds of crazy stuff, but he get away because he's fast. You're right. And that's not how you used to fight in the amateurs. Troy Ingram says, I agree. Hey, man, shout out to Troy, man, in the building. I'm sure Troy's at work right now. Shout out to him, man. I agree. There's things that Ryan does that's wrong, but I think it's because he's trying to. I don't know, man. I don't know. We're gonna see. We're gonna see when it comes down to it. Tank might stop him late. Tank might knock him out late, or if Tank is able to cut the distance really quickly, he might get him out of there early. You never know. Tank versus Ryan's a good fight though. They throw bombs. And both of them fast. Just a side note, that have nothing to do with what we're talking about. What do you guys think of Naoya Inui's win over Nonito Donaire? Yeah, tall fighters, you have to get past the length. Tank's a very short guy. Doesn't mean you won't be able to do it. I'm just saying it's something you have to consider. And Ryan's very fast. You see, the problem with it is, let's say Tank tries to explosively close the distance against Ryan. Or Ryan got to do shuffle backwards and pivot. And he takes away that. And he keeps the length. Yeah, Troy Ingram, that's correct. Tall fighters, you have to get past length. Here the Smoke says, great win. I was shocked Nonito didn't respect Monster early. Tony Pep versus Floyd Mayweather is a masterclass. Yeah, that would be fun. But Pep was a featherweight. Well, I guess Floyd, if Floyd debuted at featherweight, because he came in at super featherweight, but he really, in the Olympics, was a featherweight. That'd be a fun fight. Um, what I was saying is that, I was saying that I expected Nao Inui to do what he did, though. I'm surprised a lot of people were so shocked about that. I predicted that Noah Inui would continue from the last fight and possibly stop Nonito Donaire because he dropped him with a body punch before. And I thought that Inui did a great job. You know, I think Nonito was respecting Inui early, but Inui established range and jab, and he was boxing. He was boxing Donaire from the outside. And when Donaire tried to cut the distance, he would make defensive errors, and Inui would just capitalize on that. Definitely sharper and faster than Donaire. The thing with Inui, to me, in my opinion, is he's so fast. You can get caught with a shot you just didn't see. And Donaire basically turned his face to Inui. He didn't realize it. He was trying to dip this way. And similar thing what happened with this kid, the Canadian kid versus Jerome Ennis. The Canadian kid, he was trying to block the punch, so he dipped this way and showed this side of his face. Got blasted out of there. I think I'm doing the wrong side. He dipped this way, showed this side of his face, and got blasted out of there. Nonito was itching for a brawl and hung out in the danger zone doing nothing. Yeah. He went into mid-range and he was just kind of standing up there. Even though in the second round, he started digging to the body, but man, uh, I knew it was just if he got a body shot in, he was paying for it by getting countered with to the head. But I figured the fight was going to go that way. No need to look washed, said Troy Ingram. Nah, he wasn't washed. He just he just took a lot of punishment in a short space of time. He knew he was beating his ass. Nah, he didn't recover from the temple shot. Very, very correct. He never saw it coming. He turned his head and he knew he just blasted his temple. You know, he was trying to dip out the way and he got blasted. That was that. What I liked is Inouye made Donaire come to him and he was keeping the range. He was keeping the range all the time so he could see everything that Donaire was doing. And Donaire had to close the distance. And in trying to close the distance, he got blasted. He got caught cold trying to brawl in the first round. You're right, he never saw it coming. Inouye's thing, you know what makes Inouye so bad? Dangerous? His speed. Very sharp boxer. They say speed kills, for sure. He's real sharp. It's not so much his power, and he can crack, but it's his speed. If you slip up, he will punish you. He'll make you pay, and big time. He's a fantastic fighter. I want to see him in there with Casemiro so he can become undisputed. I love Casemiro, so I want to see my boy get a shot. And Casemiro wants that smoke. He wants that smoke. Anyway, so number 3 is Tank. The third best lightweight in the division, I believe, is Tank. And then the fourth best lightweight in the division, I think it's as either Jojo Diaz or Pitbull Cruz. You can interchange those two guys. Jojo faced Haney. He did actually pretty good. And Pitbull Cruz made a very good account of himself against Tank. So I think those are the next two guys. And Ryan comes after that because Ryan hasn't faced any champions. But his performance against Luke Campbell, nobody's ever done that to Luke Campbell. And I mean, Lomachenko, you know, he struggled with Luke Campbell for a couple of rounds. And Jorge Linares, who was the WBC champion at the time, I think it was. He dropped Jorge Linares, but then Jorge Linares came back and clawed himself back into the fight for a split decision loss. So nobody's ever done that to Luke Campbell. Brian Garcia's the first guy to do it. Campbell did get his lick in. He did drop him. But Garcia destroyed him. He destroyed him. Nobody's ever done that. So When you destroy an opponent like that, you say, "Oh, I'm way above this dude's level." I'm saying I'm about two levels above this guy because this guy don't even belong in the ring with me, right? He don't even belong in the ring. That's what he basically saying. I didn't want to see Ryan face Fortuna, which is happening at the end of this month, I think, or the end of next month. I wanted to see Ryan versus JoJo Diaz, or as they were trying to tout about, but they was bullshitting with us, Pitbull Cruz. Because those two guys, they know how to find their way to the inside of their opponent. JoJo more so than Pitbull. I think JoJo is really good at doing that. And he showed it against Devin Haney where he was landing those straight lefts and the lefts to the body and rights to the body, and he wasn't getting too many punches together landed on Devin, but he was throwing his combinations, especially later on in the fight. He was really a threat. And I think he would pose a threat to Ryan as well. And we would go. It would be a harder 12 rounds than normal. I think Pitbull Cruz would do the same because he's just so small. He can get under Ryan's punches. It would make a tough fight for Ryan. And he'd be working that body. I really think Pitbull Cruz is the next superstar in the making. He's a bad man. He's a bad man. So I love to see those matchups. So I got JoJo, then Cruz, then I got in my list I got Ryan next, but Ryan knows how to build his star power, how to make an exclamation point in his fights. So that's why casuals are kind of tuning into him, and they like him a lot, you know. Okay, so Devin, Loma, Tank, you guys can tell me your order. JoJo, Pitbull, Ryan's number 6, number 7. I think this guy deserves to be there. Uh, the guy that the guy that Devin beat, number 7, um, Judge Cambosis. And you might say, but this guy was a former linear champion, undisputed. Why you put him so low? Why you put him below JoJo, below Pitbull, and below Ryan? And I'm gonna explain. Okay. Ryan don't have the resume like um, George. In fact, my prediction is that George will become world champion when the undisputed champion moves up and vacates, whoever that may be, and the belts are again fractionated. You got 4 belts free. I think George is going to pick up one of them. So I expect George to become a world champion again because he has all the characteristics and the mindset to become a world champion. And don't let how he look against Devin Haney fool you. He's a great fighter. But I think that because George has a better resume than Ryan, he has a better resume than Pitbull, and he doesn't. Does he have a better resume than JoJo? I don't know. JoJo fought some guys, man. He fought some guys. But I will say that, and he's gone through different weight classes. I say that George, he faced Mickey Bay, he faced Lee Selby, and he faced Teofimo Lopez, and he beat Teofimo Lopez. But if you ask me, I think Ryan beats George, right? Because the same problem he had with Devin, he gonna have with Ryan. Ryan's long and he knows how to pop the jab, so it would be a long night for George. Even though I gotta admit, Ryan's not as he's not as skilled as clearly he's not as skilled as Devin. Devin wasn't just throwing the jab and standing in front of you. He was always moving with his feet. He was always sidestepping, circling, um, stepping around and all of that. So, Devin has much better footwork than Ryan does. Um, so I believe that uh, if I look at the lightweights and I'm ranking them, um, I think that Cambosis versus Ryan might actually be a closer fight than a Devin versus Cambosis, right? But having said that, I think Ryan still got sufficient power and sufficient things to make Cambosis fall short and still counterpunch him. And I think that would be a big difference because Ryan's not a dude. I don't think Ryan is a dude who fights in the pocket necessarily. He fights from long range, and that's going to be kryptonite for George if George can't close that distance. You know what I mean? But other than that, I think George versus Pitbull Cruz would be an interesting fight. I think George versus Jojo Diaz. I know Jojo Diaz is a better fighter than. I know he's a better fighter than George. I don't know. I would love to see Joe. See if Jojo never used to fade late in fights, I'd have Jojo beating George. But JoJo fades late in fights. That's my problem with JoJo. It's conditioning. But anyways, um, JoJo versus George would be a good fight. Loma versus George would be a good fight because both of them fight at mid range, and George actually moves a lot more than he did against Devin. Um, Devin kind of froze him with what he was doing. Um, so I would love to see those kinds of matchups. George. Okay. Anyway, so George is number 7. Javier Fortuna is number 8. Number 9 is I believe number 9 would be uh somebody I'm missing here and I'm forgetting in the lightweight division. Who is that? Top ten lightweights. Number 9. Who am I missing? Who am I missing? Who am I missing? Uh um oh Teofimo Lopez is not in that division anymore, so we're not talking about him. Uh, Rayo, who's Rayo? Who's Rayo? Do you think Checo beat Triple G? Derevyanchenko? Uh, yes, I thought Derevyanchenko beat Triple G. Boxing Monster says, "Get the smoke, and you are both casuals. Love." Okay. Troy Ingram says, "Rayo. What? Who's Rayo? Who's Rayo? Um. Oh, you know what else? Uh, Nathalia. Nathalia would be number 9. He's a knockout artist. He knocked out Burchelt at lightweight when Burchelt moved up in weight to face him, and he's been knocking out just about everybody. That's the guy that Shakur Stevenson actually beat, Nathalia. And then you got you could throw in whoever you want to throw in. There's a kid named Zapata, William Zapata. You could put him in there. You could put in Riley Romero. You could put in whoever you want to put in at number 10. You know what I mean? Zapata ain't faced nobody yet, but he's coming up. He's undefeated. You also got Valenzuela, Jose Valenzuela. That's another guy you could put in there at the 10th spot. He's an up and coming fighter, and you need to look out for those dudes. You got a couple other lightweights that are on the come up, and really you should be paying attention to. So there's a couple of them. So the 10 spot's kind of open. I don't really think Romero's uh, should be ranked at number 10. I think about number 12 maybe. So maybe you put Valenzuela or Zapata. Maybe Zapata and Valenzuela above him. Even though he got, Jose Valenzuela. Yeah, you know him? Yeah, he's a good fighter, man. Good fighter. And he's on the come up, so watch out for him in the future. So we got a pretty interesting division, an interesting division, you know, and so what I was saying is that I believe that Leonard Ellerbe, what he was saying about, you know, Tank being the biggest draw from 140 all the way down to 130 is absolutely true. Pay per view was like 200, above 250K pay per view buys, which is really good. Tank is, you know, he's got some star power still, and especially at this time. Um, Boxing Monster says Haney outboxes Tank. You might be right. He might be right. He might. He might. But you know, I know Tank, and I know Tank can box. So Boxing Monster says Haney outboxes Loma. I believe so as well. It keeps it long, and he outboxes Loma. Haney outboxes Tio. Definitely outboxes Tio. Haney also needs to move up to 140. Yeah, he's huge. Do you see how much bigger he was than? Did you see how much bigger he was than Cambosis? He's huge. He looked a little drained at the weigh-in. Cambosis, you mean? Not Haney. Haney looked great. Haney looked cut. Cambosis, he looked drained, and it even showed up. I thought on fight night. I thought besides being confused in that ring, he also looked he looked like he was lacking energy. In fact, in his corner, his father was saying, "Why are you punching so slow? Pick up the pace." Later on in the fight, he seemed to be a little bit more sloppy with his punches and everything. Wasn't as sharp and as quick. And I think that could have been that Cambosis actually probably struggled to make weight, which is weird. But Cambosis always looked bone dry, so he probably a bigger dude, and he just been on a diet. Um, hmm, and you know, allowed him to be able to do what he was doing. Yeah, Cambosis look like he's a big dude. That been, you know, they shrink him down to lightweight. Um, so I wouldn't be surprised. But I really enjoyed. So that's my rankings of the lightweight division. Um, it's a pretty live division. You know what I mean? Um, at super lightweight, we got Taylor. You know, we got Ruggiero, aka Reggie Prograis, right? We got Antoine Russell up in there. Um, we got Richardson, Hitchkins. You know, I think at lightweight we also have Mickey Bay. He was supposed to be facing Tevin Farmer, who was stepping up to lightweight. So Tevin Farmer's trying to get in the mix too. Um, so you know the lightweight division is live. I just disagree with Leonard Ellerbe. I disagree with him in terms of Tank and Devin. That Devin isn't the best lightweight, and that Tank would beat all those guys. I disagree in the sense that him saying that Tank would beat all those guys, um, you know, stop them or whatever, is not enough. I don't want to hear Leonard tell me that Tank could beat those guys. That means nothing to me. First, he's a promoter of Tank, and two, don't tell me that. Show me it. Show me he can beat all those guys. I'm not necessarily saying you're right or wrong, Leonard. I'm saying let me see the fights. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to hear your word on this. That don't make money. I want to see it. I'm sure casual fans will want to see it. Everybody will want to see it. The risk is if he don't stop them, if he don't knock him out, Leonard's worried Tank wouldn't be seen as red hot. And it's very probable that he wouldn't stop Shakur Stevenson, that he wouldn't stop Devin Haney, that he wouldn't stop Ryan Garcia. It's very possible. Because when he stepped up in competition at the lightweight level, and he didn't fight an old Gamboa, or inexperienced Rolly Romero, who don't belong on that level, he's still developing as a fighter. When he faced Pitbull Cruz, he didn't stop him. Did he now? I'm not saying that he won't stop, that he doesn't have a puncher's chance in those fights because he's a boxer puncher. But as Floyd said to Tank, you can't depend on your power to bail you out of fights. You got to use your boxing skill. And if the knockout come, it come. And one way or another, Tank is going to end up facing these guys. I always say, the longer you take to face these guys, it's only the better they're going to get. Only the better they're going to get. So you might as well face them now. And you may have to face them multiple times, depending on how many divisions you go through. And if you look at the Canelo story, if Canelo had taken on Jermell Charlo or Demetrius Andrew, one of them, his contemporaries, right, since 154, he probably wouldn't have been in the predicament he is now with Bivol. He might have gotten a close decision win over one or both of them, and would have known how to get the close decision win over Bivol by now. Or he may have lost to one or both of them, but learned from it so he could get a close decision win over Bivol now. You look, when a boxer ducks and dodges another boxer, don't listen to the media who be talking bullshit. Watch with your own two eyes. When a boxer truly ducks another boxer, what happens? Karma. He runs into an opponent he underestimates, and he gets beaten. Always happens. Because in boxing, you can't be trying to preserve an O. You're supposed to be working on beating ass. That's how you end up with an O. You don't end up with an O trying to preserve it. Then you'll get a draw or some other shit. You want to beat ass. You want to beat people. You want to win. And the only way you're going to get past in the lightweight division right now as it stands, the only way any fighter is going to be proclaimed as the best lightweight in the lightweight division right now is the only way. They got to go through Devin Haney. They have to go through him. You can't just pronounce yourself the best lightweight in the division and you're not lineal champion and you're not the undisputed champion. There's only one champion in the lightweight division right now. And that champion's name is Devin Haney. There's only one champion in the 154 division right now. And that champion's name is Jermell Charlo. There's only one champion in the 168-pound division. And that champion name is Canelo Alvarez. Now it's up to the champion to make sure he faces the number one contender. And Devin Haney will do that. He will face Vasily Lomachenko, the number one contender for his championship. But Canelo, he ain't trying to do that, right? Tank, he ain't trying to face the number one fighter in his division. He's not trying to do that, right? And Canelo got all the dollars, right? Canelo make more money than Tank and all them other guys. But he's not trying to face the number one contender. Who are you trying to face right now? Triple G. Triple G. A smaller guy. Huh? A smaller guy than you had to come up in weight, face you, and he old as fuck. Who are exclusively fought and has exclusively campaigned at 160. That makes sense? Of course not. It sells, but it don't make no damn sense. And we all know this. So, ultimately, in the end, all I'm saying is, while Canelo did face the best, and he is the best right now, to continue being the best, and not just be a champion in name, but you ain't facing nobody, you got to beat the best, which means the best possible person is the number one contender right now, who is David Benavidez, who Canelo can beat. He's beatable, right? So that's all I'm saying. You know, Canelo can, and that was a bigger fight than a Bivol fight. Clearly, it would have sold a lot more because Canelo faced Caleb Plant, and that did 800K pay-per-view buys. He faced Bivol and made somewhere between 300 and 600K pay-per-view buys. So by him not facing David Benavidez or Jamal Charlo, but taking the supposedly easier route, which would have been Bivol versus Triple G. Not saying that Bivol's easier, but the Triple G fight's easier, right? By taking the supposedly easier route, he lost to Bivol. That's because, see, you trying to duck and dodge. You really trying to duck and dodge, pick and choose. Now, this never happened to Floyd Mayweather. You know why? Because the guy who wanted the big fights, the guy who wanted to face the best was Floyd. Never duck and dodge, no best fighter in his division. The top guy in the division, he never duck or dodge none of them. And y'all know this. That's why he didn't lose. Because he really wanted to go in there and whoop ass. Yeah, he wanted the biggest possible fight he could make. But he also wanted to go in there and get the respect, the pedigree. The pedigree. Right? They trying to build up Tank as a star attraction. But the one thing you can't do is bullshit people with lies. He not the best lightweight in the division. The only way you can do that is you have to beat the best guy in the division. Devin Haney showed you. He went down to Australia and he beat the best guy in the division. So don't bullshit us with Tank the best guy. Hey, he would knock out everyone. You see anybody stopping Tank? Don't tell me that bullshit, Leonard. I'm not going to buy that. Because we don't know as a fact, not you, not nobody knows for a fact that Tank could beat these guys. And right now Devin Haney's in the position where he's the top dog. He is the guy at lightweight. He's the man. You may have your cash cow, and you could call Tank a cash cow, and you could call him exciting. You can call him whatever you want, but you cannot call him the best lightweight in the lightweight division because that's bullshit. You have nothing to back that up. And you know, Tank versus Devin is a tough ass fight for Tank. That is not an easy fight. You know it. So we can't be going in here making up shit. That is not true. That's all I'm saying. Right? Tank hasn't even, at lightweight, Tank hasn't even faced better opposition than Vasily Lomachenko. Lomachenko faced world champions. In terms of resume, Lomachenko has the best resume at lightweight right now, even though he didn't campaign at lightweight just like Tank, right? He got the best resume in lightweight right now. That's what it is, right? But he's not the top dog because Devin Haney beat the guy who beat the guy that beat Lomachenko. He the man right now. And he also is the undisputed man. There's no disputing who's the best now at lightweight. Nobody can dispute that because Devin Haney has all the belts. So that's all I'm saying to Leonard. I love Leonard Ellerbe. I love Mayweather Promotions. I love Tank. I love all those guys. But I'm just saying, you said it. Everybody's admitting that Teofimo Lopez is the best lightweight in the lightweight division when he had the hardware. They were saying that George Cambosis was the best lightweight in the lightweight division when he had the hardware. Oh, now that it's a black fighter, we're gonna say something different? Fuck out of here. Best lightweight in the lightweight division is Devin Haney at 23 years old. He got plenty of years to go. Because he fight smart. He not taking punishment. He got a long career ahead of him. He just getting started. The only other guy, and nobody did it this young, in the lightweight division. No one. No lightweight has ever done it this young. The only other guy to have been the dude and the undisputed lightweight champ was Pernell Whitaker. And that's 30 years ago. So Devin Haney already is making history, and he's already starting to challenge for his place. Well, historically, he's already probably going to be a Hall of Famer just because he the first undisputed four-belt lightweight champion. He already in the history books. So, I mean, this is the way how Devin Haney has started his career. We'll see what happens as it moves on. And, yeah, their guys are going to surpass Floyd in terms of accomplishments. They definitely is going to be, if they keep it up, you know, there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of obstacles along the way that he'll have to overcome. But that's a tremendous start. And we'll see how he finishes. You know what I mean? But, and I'm not saying that Devin Haney is going to be undisputed indefinitely. I don't know what the future holds. But what I do know is that he's the top dog right now. Y'all was giving Cambosis all the clout, and y'all was talking about how Cambosis would beat Haney, and Cambosis is better than all the other lightweights, and blah, 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 blah. Right? Well, keep that same energy for Devin Haney. I don't want to hear nobody questioning him because he's undisputed. There is no questioning him. There's no saying, oh, well, he did subpar fight, so therefore he's not the best lightweight. Fuck out of here with that shit. He is the best lightweight in the division. We need to recognize that. Tank is the cash cow of the division. There ain't nobody else generating the revenue that Tank is doing. If Leonard Ellerbe, that's all he wants Tank to be, is just a cash cow, but not the best, then so be it. Tank has to decide if that's what he wants for his career. If he just wants to generate money, and that's all he's known for in history. Because when we look at his resume, it could have been a lot better. I'm just saying. Haney making history. He's still making money, maybe not the most amount of money, but he is still making money. People will still come to see him because of his accomplishments. That's why people came to see Floyd. It was the accomplishments. It wasn't just the 50-0. It wasn't just the record paydays that he had. They came to see him because of who he faced and who he beat. And that's a missing ingredient at lightweight on Tank's resume. Floyd faced the best whenever he could. Tank have to decide what he wants. And he need to demand it with Mayweather Promotions, regardless of what Mayweather Promotions says to him about making money. Because making money is one thing. That's one thing. Legacy is another, and Devin Haney showed you that. He went against his pay. He went against the pay because it's going to pay off down the road. Every single fight adds up. Every single one of these fights adds up. You don't only have to make money now, you can make money also down the road. You got to decide what it is you really want and what you're really building towards. If it's just tremendous pay-per-views and tremendous paydays, You'll get some of that, but you're going to have a cap. You're going to have a limit because the respect due to your name, you might be exciting, but when we look, it's like Mike Tyson. When we look back at Mike Tyson's resume, it's nothing like Lennox Lewis's or Evander Holyfield's. Nothing. It's nothing like George Foreman's. You dig what I'm saying? Sensational, but he ain't the greatest. People say, well, you can't eat legacy, but legacy is what Floyd is living off of right now with his exhibitions. Fuck what they told you. Yes, you try to make the most out of your dollar, but don't get it twisted. You also need to face the best. And fuck it, Floyd faced the best. So Tank need to think about that a little bit. And he is what? Tank is what, 28, 27? Yeah, you getting up in age, bro. You in your prime now. So you have to decide what you're really doing, because you might be able to fight till you were 34, 35, maybe even 36 years old. But you have to decide what you really, really want to do with yourself. And what kind of paydays you really want to get. Because trust me, if you ain't facing nobody, or at least you ain't facing the very best, you're not going to get those paydays. It's just what it is. I don't care what science they say. You got to step up and face the very best. So far in Tank's whole entire career, he's not faced a single lineal champion. Not a single one. He's 28 years old. He's in the prime of his career. He gotta understand, legacy helps currency. Legacy does help currency. You have to at least, that's the one thing on Floyd. That's the problem. See, Floyd Mayweather could call himself TBE and make money off of being TBE because he literally faced the very best. He tried to get the best guys in every division. That was what gave him the biggest fights. So you're going to cap at a certain level at a certain point of income you're going to make, because you're not facing the best guys. You got to face the best guys at some point and build your resume. And that's what Tank has to understand. And Leonard Ellerbe can't be talking the way he's talking. The way he's talking is like Tank can beat all of them, but he's not going to face none of them because they're on the other side of the street. That's bullshit. We don't want to hear that shit. That's the way Leonard Ellerbe is speaking. Well, he can beat all of them. I don't care what you say. I want to see it. Boxing's a show me sport. Boxing's not a tell me sport. Boxing's a show me sport. So that's just my point, and my 2 cents in the boxing community. It took me an hour, 33 minutes, 32 seconds. I was talking with you guys about other things, but I wanted to say that because, as a boxing fan, I'm not mad at you making as much money as you can in the business and doing whatever you want to do. But I'm going to tell you, it's not going to pay off if you're not facing the very best guys of your division or of whatever you are at. And don't tell me Tank is young, because Tank has been going now. He's been champion for a good portion of about 5 years. He's been champion. Okay? And I'm just saying, there are guys available out there, and guys who even called him out, who, like Devin Haney, who are now the best right now. And so it would behoove Tank, and it would behoove Mayweather Promotions to take advantage of that opportunity now, because Devin's not going to get worse. He's only going to get better, and it's going to be tougher and tougher and tougher to beat him. I remember Oscar Valdez had a better shot at beating Shakur Stevenson at featherweight. He vacated his title, so he didn't have to face Shakur. Right? He thought the risk was worth the reward now, and Bob Arum and the team forced him to do this. And he moved in and he faced Shakur and he got beat comprehensively. right? Why are people afraid to step up to the plate and face Devin Haney? Why? Why should you be afraid of that? Because you would get beat? You're afraid of getting beat? That'll make no sense. Boxers don't think like that. If I'm going in to face you, I'm working out a game plan to win. So what's the problem? The promoter thinks the boxer might, looking at the matchup, the boxer might look bad, and you mightn't get no KOs, and the dude might outbox him, or he just look bad all around. He might win, but he look bad. That's it? That's all you're looking at? Come on, man. Face the music now, collect the data, figure out a game plan to face it again. Because you'll have an opportunity to face it again, I do believe. I think that in trying to garner so much money, people are being very selective about who they face sometimes, and in so doing, not that they are afraid of any matchup. Nobody's afraid of no matchup, but I just think they're trying to milk as much money out of the dollar they can, and try and build a fight that something could go wrong in between, and it never ever happens. And I always say the guys who do the ducking, they're the ones that pay the price. Because once you do the ducking, you're going to duck right into a loss. You know? Because you ducking. Don't duck. Don't duck. Face up to what you got to face up to. That's what I'm saying. Right? People always talk about Floyd used to duck and dodge. He didn't duck and dodge nobody. Otherwise, he'd have lost. If he was afraid to lose his O, he would have lost his O. It's about kicking ass, trying to find the biggest fights possible with the biggest names in boxing and kick their ass. That's what it's about. And I know for a fact Mayweather, that was what Mayweather was about. Never mind what nobody say. You know? And let me tell you the truth. Them guys didn't want to face Mayweather. That's the truth. Even as Money made. Because he clowned them and he make him look stupid. Okay? When he outboxed them. They didn't like that. I think a boxer prefer to get knocked the fuck out than either get punished for 12 rounds and clowned on, or clowned for 12 rounds. That really affects their ego. You know what I mean? You think that George Cambosis didn't know it was a tough fight he was going into? He knew that. He knew how many people was avoiding Devin Haney. And he took it on. And what I like about him was he was humble in defeat, gave Devin Haney all the belts, you know, gave him the respect that he deserved. And he's going to move the fuck on, and hopefully in 2 years' time or less, becomes a world champion again. That's how you move. You know? So, that's what I got to say about this fight. That's what I got to say about the division. That's what I got to say about Leonard Ellerbe's commence. I do like Leonard Ellerbe, and I think he does a lot for the sport of boxing. I think they help the sport of boxing a lot. I think that Mayweather Promotions done an excellent job with Tank. But I also believe that there comes a time where you have to step it up, and I think you just have to let her rip, and go for the win, and do what you got to do. You know, and Devin showed that. He showed, look, man, I want this position in boxing, and he went for it in the man's hometown and beat his ass. And kudos to Leonard Ellerbe. Leonard Ellerbe knew that Devin was going to do that, right? And so, you know, I want to see Tank, you know, step up and face a Devin, or step up and face a Ryan, or step up and face a Shakur. I want to see him do that. Them is the four guys that you have to look at right now at the lightweight division, and Shakur may come up to lightweight, he may not. So of course I want to see those fights. I think the whole world wants to see those fights. And I don't care what kind of numbers you crunch. I'm sure when those, if any of those fights are announced, well, we'll see. Dev versus Lomachenko in the United States in Las Vegas. I believe it will happen in Las Vegas. We will see what kind of magnitude of fight it will be. I don't think ESPN Plus should make it a pay-per-view, but they should just look for the viewership. It's a lot of Lomachenko fans all over the world when it comes to boxing. And then Devin Haney being the undisputed champion, we will see. Now it's on ESPN, so it's kind of the guy who moved the needle on ESPN was Keith One Time Thurman. Keith One Time Thurman was the guy that was moving the needle on ESPN. I don't think ESPN has had such a big viewership other than that. Even though it's a leader in sports, it's not really the premier channel for, boxing. But nonetheless, a fight like that with Devin Haney versus Vasily Lomachenko. Let's see how that moves the needle in boxing. Let's see how that works out. Lomachenko's not a big talker, so Devin Haney may have to promote that fight somehow, some way. Find interesting ways to promote the fight. That's definitely a fight. I'm sure the casual fan will be looping in. Obviously, Devin Haney versus Cambosis is still a talking point in boxing today. It moved the needle. When Devin fights, it moves the needle. The question is, what is the pay-per-view he got in Australia? Nowhere else had it as a pay-per-view fight. I guess Devin versus Lomachenko may not be a pay-per-view fight either. We'll see what kind of needle it moves in terms of people's interest in it. Because everybody tuned in to see Cambosis versus Haney. And I think everybody's going to tune in again to see Loma versus Haney, because once again, you're dealing with different people from different backgrounds, different cultures, and you're also dealing with the best facing the best. So I have a feeling people are going to tune into that as well. In the boxing world, it makes noise. Is it beyond the boxing? Can we translate beyond the boxing world to making noise as well? That's the question, really. The real question: can Devin Haney move the needle outside of boxing? When he was younger, he had his own YouTube channel. He had all of these things that was going on. I'm not too sure if he's still pushing that. He has his people who back him. He has the Devin Haney fans clearly there, but can he move the needle? Can he be promoted a certain kind of way, in an innovative kind of way, where he can move the needle? Because he's not going to have a pay-per-view against Lomachenko. I don't think they're going to make it. Or maybe they should make it a pay-per-view. Who knows? But at the end of the day, because Lomachenko at least, deserves one pay-per-view fight, but I don't know if they're willing to put out that money for that. But that's something that they should look at. And depending on Devin Haney's performance against Lomachenko, he might make noise, or he don't, or it might backfire and he doesn't make noise. We'll see. I'm hoping for nothing but the best, but as to respect, in respect to how the division is shaping up and so on, it's still a fiery division. It's just that instead of having 4 or 5 names now, it just got 3 names that you could talk about in the division. It's Lomachenko, Tank, Devin, and Ryan. It's 4 names. It's just a replacement. We'll see how it all pans out. I hope they all face each other in some way, shape, or form. I think Devin's going to face at least most of them before he moves up, and we're going to see how it shapes out. Ryan is with DAZN, Tank is with PBC and Showtime. Loma is with Top Rank as Devin Haney. So we'll see how it shapes up. Ultimately, in the end, I'm what you need. I'm going to catch you guys later. Peace.